Well, hello there. This is Miss Becky, the, the airheaded math teacher. Mhm. How do you like that? I actually found a song about right being right because we are going over special triangles, special right triangles. Um, and again, that's if you see that sign, that's a right angle, which is 90 degrees. So let's just jump into this since it is a review. Um, First thing I wanted to say about the 45, 45, 90 degree triangle is that it is an isosceles triangle. So knowing that, what we know is that the other two angles here that are not the right triangle are 45 degrees. So they are congruent, the same measure. That makes things kind of easy. And because these congruent angles are, you know, the two angles are congruent, the opposite sides are also congruent. So whatever the length of this leg is of the triangle, that's what this leg of the triangle will also be. So let me see, let me scroll up here, see if I can. Mm, you can fill in your notes as we go along. So isosceles have two congruent um, angles and two congruent, sorry about this writing, sides. Okay, all right. The other thing is that the hypotenuse is always opposite of the right angle. So I like to say it's like right across the street because it's not always clear in these triangles which side is the long slanty side. Sometimes it's really hard to eyeball them. So we have to have some proof of which um, which part of the triangle are legs. These are called the legs, and this is the hypotenuse. All right. So the hypotenuse is always opposite of the right angle. All right. Now, to be able to find the hypotenuse length, it is always um, the square root of 2 times more than whatever these legs are. So if this leg was 4 long, we know this one is also 4 long. So when you're trying to solve for these to know the sides and the angles, I mean, that's helpful to know that they're isosceles. So they're always going to be the same. And the hypotenuse is going to be whatever the sides are, which is 4 times the square root of 2. It's always going to be that way. So that makes it pretty easy. Um, if, let's see, let's say, mm, delete that, delete that. Okay, what if we knew, oop, my pencil. What if we know that this side is um, 10 units long? You could find the sides if this hypotenuse is multiplied by the square root of 2. To be able to find the sides, we would just do the opposite and take that hypotenuse and divide it by the square root of 2, and that would be the length of the sides. But now, if you will remember, we can never have a radical in the denominator. That just does not work. So if you remember how to get rid of this radical in the denominator is you multiply it by itself. We call that rationalizing it. Whatever you do to the bottom, you have to do to the top. All right. So the square root of 2 times the square root of 2 makes a 2. And up here in the numerator, we just have 10 times the square root of 2. So that is going to be the length these sides, right? This is uh, a precise um, length, you could put all this into your calculator because of the square root of 2. It's going to give you a decimal that goes on and on and on, and it's not going to stop, so that's not really precise, and we don't really want to work with that. Okay, next up is this wonderful 30, 60, 90. Let's write that down. It's a 30, 60, 90 triangle because it has 30 degrees. It has an angle that's 60 degrees, and then of course our lovely right triangle right there, which is of course 90 degrees. Now, um, because these two are different um, sizes, these angles, you've got a short leg and a longer leg because these two are different. They're not the same anymore. The short leg is a pretty special one because these other two sides are based off of it. Now they're using the variable a to show that um, that A is the short leg, and then well, let's just talk about where to find these and how to identify them first. The short leg right here is opposite of the 30-degree angle. So you find your 30-degree angle right here, and then right across the street, oh, down here, you're going to find the short leg. So it's opposite of the 30-degree angle. Um, Now we've got a long leg. Um, Here's our long leg. And let's go ahead and write our short leg. Is right here. It's important to identify these. Now the long leg is opposite of the 60-degree angle. So this is our long leg over there. So you find your 60-degree angle and it's opposite of that. That's going to be your longer leg. Again, it's not always easy to eyeball these, and it's really not correct to do that. Anyway, now the hypotenuse over here, wait, let's get a different color, is always, again, like I said, opposite of the right angle. Okay? Okay, so the short leg, whatever it is, so say that it's say it's four units long, then the long leg is going to be 4 times the square root of 3, and the hypotenuse would be 2 times 4, which is 8. So everything is based off the short leg. That's why it's pretty important. Um, all right, so to find the like if you're given the length of the long leg is 6, I'm sorry, the hypotenuse is 6, and we have a measurement here of the long leg, which is 3 times the square root of 3. Now, it's like I said, it's always important to try to find the short leg. It just makes it easier because the other two sides are based off of it. But to find the short leg, we can divide the long leg by the square root of 3. Okay, that's one way to do it. So the long leg is 3 times the square root of 3. So if we divide that by the square root of 3, these guys cancel out, and that gives us a short leg of 3. Okay, but if you didn't have this one, if you just had the hypotenuse, you could then divide that by 2. So you could say 6 divided by 2 gives us 3. So that's another way to be able to find the short leg. So what if we didn't have the long leg? What if we didn't know what that is? You can do that two different ways. Um, you can divide the hypotenuse by 2. So we could say 10 divided by 2 gives us, oh, my bad. My bad. I don't want to say that. Hang on. To find the long leg. Oh, wait, that's incorrect. Wait, back the bus up. Hang on. See, it doesn't take too long before you figure out why I'm there. I had a math teacher. Anyway, I had that backwards. So to find the long leg based off this hypotenuse, we could take it and divide it by the square root of 3. but IXL or most any other places don't want that as an answer. So we need to get rid of the radical in the basement. You never want a radical in your basement. Doesn't usually work out. So we're going to multiply it by the square root of 3. And what you do to the bottom, you've got to do to the top so it stays balanced. Um, this just turns into 3, and this just stays 10 times the square root of 3. And that's what our long leg will be. All right. Okie doke. So now what if we did not know the hypotenuse? You don't know what that one is. You could simply multiply the short leg by 2. So 5 times 2 would give us 10. That would be easy peasy. But if you didn't have that one and you had this long leg over here, and your long leg is 10 times the square root of 3 over 3. So if you did not have this one and you wanted to find the hypotenuse, you could multiply um, this one. Um, wait, I don't even know what I'm talking about. Hang on. Anyway, I think I was going into something and I really don't need you for this time. Anyway, so that's about all we have to say about that. Trying to keep it short and sweet because, again, that was a review. So until next time, I will see you later.